time for Bet On It, brought to you by Warhorse Sportsbook, the best place in Nebraska. Place your sports bets. Warhorse Sportsbook is in Lincoln and in Omaha. Make sure you check out the casino or warhorsecasino.com for promotions and a full list of house rules. That's Warhorse Sportsbook. No bets, no glory. Before we get to Bet On It, let's get to Jason. He's got some Nebraska volleyball takes on the Hurrdat hotline. What's going on, Jason?
Hey, guys. How's it going?
What's up, buddy?
Oh, not much. You know, I got triggered a little bit. Once either wrestling or volleyball gets started chatting about, it's like I got an antenna that goes up. So I will say, and my disclaimer is that I like Sam a lot. I mean, he's one of my favorites. And whether I'm listening to you guys or any other radio program, if I'm not listening to it live, I will make it a point to find a Sam podcast and listen to it because I think he's great. That being said, I mean, what are we doing, Sam? I get that. Like, I have all the respect in the world for Creighton Volleyball. I agree. They extremely talented. I think the only absolute knock on them is the fact that they play in the Big East, and they do not have the rigor they have to go through of a Big Ten, of an ACC, even an SEC. And I think the wear and tear is part of the season. And while they may not have the high-level recruits, I think it says something to John Cook, Nebraska volleyball, Wisconsin volleyball, Penn State volleyball, the schedule that you have to play and the wear and tear that takes on your body. And so I think he's discounting that. The thing that bothers me probably the most, though, is that I wouldn't mind his takes if some of the other things he were saying were somewhat accurate. I mean, we're talking about mentioning Vasquez Gomez for Pittsburgh as one of their best players, and she just plain is not.
Yeah.
I mean, Olivia Babcock is probably the best volleyball player in the country.
No question. Player of the year.
Fairbanks, Kelly, Tori Stafford. I could name 5 or 6 Pittsburgh volleyball players before I even get to their 6-year starter. And then we're talking about Andy Jackson and how she wasn't a 5-star. She was the number 1 middle blocker coming out of high school. Yes, she was a 5-star. And then we start talking about the 2 Penn State volleyball players that left Nebraska that could be starting for Nebraska. No, they couldn't. Maybe Jaravicius now because Merritt Beeson's not playing very well. But there is a reason why they left Nebraska. It's because they couldn't start there. Mm-hmm. Maggie Mendelson is not even remotely close to starting for – she would be our 4th middle blocker right now. And so – and those are just examples. And so that's what's frustrating.
And that's without getting into like Allie and some others.
Exactly. And so I'm just like, I love takes. I love Sam's takes. And I get where he was going. Booth is a great coach. She is not the best coach in the country. She maybe one of them. She is not the best coach in the country. I'm not even going to go and say that John Cook's the best coach in the country. I think he's top 2 or 3. But I wasn't sure where he was going. It was almost like he was purposely trying to trigger a guy like me, and then almost trying to make and once again, Creighton's a great volleyball team, and they have been for a couple of years now, for a handful of years now. But it was like he was purposely trying to, elevate them, and I think what he inadvertently did was put John Cook down and Nebraska volleyball down, and maybe he wasn't trying to do that, but the fact that he had all of these other little weird takes just made it seem as though he was.
All right, Jason, let me ask you one thing because I know you're dialed. How hard is it, do you think, because this is what first got me going, the sitting in the folded chair thing. I think volleyball, especially when girls are young, and it's one of the reasons why I was such a Krause fan, because how she dealt with expectations from like 6th grade on, right?
Oh, absolutely.
Where, where do you put a premium on being able to manage personalities once they get into college, considering how many of these young ladies were targeted so early as like the anointed ones?
Is extremely high.
See,
and I think looking at a lady like Harper Murray is a perfect example of that. I mean, how not all the John Cooks of the world treat that the same way.
Yep.
Right. There's a good percentage of coaches, of high level coaches.
She'd have to go find something else different to do, right?
Exactly.
Yeah.
Exactly.
Yeah.
And so I think it's extremely. And now I'm not saying that Booth can't do something like that. I don't think we know. I don't think we know. But I'm just saying she hasn't had to. And I think the premium is huge. It's huge. And I think he has changed. He has changed. I think they even mentioned this. I think maybe I've heard this mentioned where he, at one point in time, I think he maybe wasn't the happiest coaching, to be honest with you. And I think he's changed. I think he's loosened up.
I think you're 100% right.
So, and that's helped. I think you need to, especially when dealing with the talent that he has and trying to retain that talent, with the portal, with there's so many good teams now anymore. I mean, the fact that, that Creighton was able to almost make the Final Four, I think, just the parity, is in trying to retain all of that talent. You gotta be able to adapt. And it certainly seems like he can do it, which is pretty crazy to say at his longevity and his age.
Yeah. I appreciate
Appreciate the call, bud.
He's definitely plugged in. He's dialed.
Yeah, for sure.
That's what I keep wanting. I'm saying it without saying it, and he said it for me, so it's even better. Like his ability, John Cook's ability to evolve, and kind of get outside of himself to grow with the game. You can't undersell it. You just can't, especially after having that much success.
Yeah. Being willing to change and grow after you've had a lot of success is just a lot harder than people think.
Just rare. We've seen coaches retire for less.
Yeah, recently a bunch.
And conversely, you heard Cook with the great shot yesterday talking about Taylor Landfair. That's what she's paid to do. I couldn't believe it. He looked like he wanted to come back and get it.
Yeah.
But he's like, "No, I'm good."
I mean,
I'm a big Cook guy. So
when you're John Cook, you get a little leeway.
I lack a little objectivity.
No, I appreciate the conversation because
like these girls are handpicked for a long time. Managing those I don't know, man.
I also think with athletes that way, I do wonder if there's a point where you just kind of have to let go a little bit in terms of like
we talk about Elite 11 quarterbacks.
Yeah,
they're all their version of Elite 11 quarterbacks.
Yeah, 100%. Maybe even higher level than that. Honestly, like you're talking about the top half maybe of the Elite 11 quarterbacks.
I mean, since middle school.
And at some point, you may get more out of players, and it's definitely better for their mental health instead of continuing to like drive the reins super hard to just be like, hey,
how many assistants
let's ease up a little bit. All of them.
Right. So
I mean, just all of them. At one point or another, it's all of them, right? Multiple times over. Yeah. Right. That's just kind of how it goes. It's a very different job than the job that Coach Booth has to do.
I wasn't.
It just is.
I wasn't triggered. I like Sam, but I'm glad.
Seems like
there were a lot. Well, I couldn't. There's a lot that I just couldn't let go.
Seems like you're a little triggered. Just like a little bit.
A little.
Just a tiny bit.
Still my guy.
No, it's okay. It's okay to. Like, I do think Coach Booth is one of the best coaches in the country, and I'm not plugged in.
Incredible.
I'm not plugged in with volleyball the way some of you guys are, but I find it hard to believe there's a ton that are better than she is. But again, I don't know if she would do well with the Nebraska job or if this is very uniquely suited to her skill sets. I think she has a JUCO background, so like that's a very different background, right? Like that's a very specific type of coach. Now it's a long time ago now. Maybe she could handle a Nebraska program. I don't know, but that's the $1 million question, right? we were talking earlier, and we'll talk to Jacob Padilla about some more volleyball and basketball here in a second. We were talking earlier about Rick Barnes. We talked about last week,
Yeah,
right?
off air. Yeah.
Like, that's a guy who got a ton of talent at Texas, didn't win nearly as much as anybody wanted him to. At Tennessee, seems like he recruits a different type of guy, and seems to be all of a sudden a much more highly regarded coach. Funny how that works sometimes.